This station operates a no smoking policy.
This is Jenny Brown's Point in Silverdale in Lancashire. And you may have noticed I'm on hoof today. No bicycles to be seen today. Although Silverdale's a really nice place to go and ride your bike, it won't be practical on the path that we've chosen to go down today. It's quite muddy. There's a few rocky outcrops that I don't think I could tackle on my bike. And there's also a couple of 100 people here that I don't want to laugh at me when I fall off. It really is rather busy here today. Everyone's desperate to see Jenny Brown's Point and the chimney that's here. I'd always assumed that the chimney was for smoking fish, and had thought that trawlers would bring kippers in here and come down what's called Quaker's Stang, which is the stream that runs in from the sea, drop off the kippers, and they would be smoked here and sold to the people of Silverdale and Arnside. But recent archaeological digs have found that this was a copper smelting works. Just like Thomas Patton's copper smelting works that we visited in Warrington in my last video, my Mersey Cuts video. And that same Quaker stang would be used to get boats in so that they could transport all the black manillas that he'd smelted in his copper works and take them to the merchants of Lancaster or the merchants of Liverpool. And they would be sent over to Africa and swapped for slaves. Apparently copper mining here in Silverdale was a very short-lived affair. A man called Robert Gibson opened the copper smelting works and started mining for copper here in Silverdale. He was the Lord of Yealand, which is a few miles in that direction. But the Townsley family of Leighton, who owned the land that he was mining in, told him that he didn't have any rights to mine for copper here, and if anyone was going to mine for copper, it would be them. And apparently they had lots of legal wrangles arguing who could mine for the copper. And by 1788 the copper smelting works was abandoned, and all that remains of it today is the chimney. And the chimney is now grade 2 listed, and it's well worth a walk to come and have a look. It sits on the most northerly point of Morecambe Bay's marshland, which stretches all the way from Knott End near Fleetwood to here in Silverdale. And in 1875 a man called Herbert J. Walduck decided that the marshland was taking up too much land that could be used for agriculture, and he planned to build a giant seawall to block the tides and turn the marshland into somewhere that you could grow crops or tend to your livestock. If you like watching the videos of Jack Hargreaves, you'll know that the most fertile soil is that which used to be either under the sea or under a lake or by a river. That's because it's chock full of nitrates that come from fish poo and seabird poo and all the rotten seaweed that's sunk to the bottom of the sea or the riverbed or the lake and rotted down. It's just like a 1,000-year-old compost heap. Herbert hired an army of men and bought a steam locomotive to bring ton after ton of limestone that had been quarried out at Silverdale and Arnside. And he would dump ton after ton, and every time the tide would come in, the sea would destroy it. So he'd bring another load of limestone in and put it on top of the old limestone, and the tides would come in and ruin it. And by 1879 he'd run out of money, and his plan had to be abandoned. And over the few years after, basically all the sand and silt and the mud here covered over his wall. And it wasn't until 1977, nearly 100 years afterwards, that a big storm uncovered it all again and reminded people that he had the idea to build a seawall. And just to rub salt in the wound, the marshland of Morecambe Bay remains soggy as ever.
Itself. To me you were a warming hand that melts to the bone, the flowers grown from my heart. To you I was a drifting line, drawn between a light to capture, but only shown in pictures sewn from my arms. Clouds kept the light from those eyes. Still, love grown consumed, and you know I'll never let it go. You'll find in time I'll never let it go. You'll find it's right. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. To me it was a long mistake
Bimblers, you join me at pre-meal deal. I went for the chicken and bacon. It's the obvious choice. But after having that, we're in a bit of a quandary. As you know, living in the UK, it goes dark at about 4 o'clock. And on a Sunday, the trains don't start until 10 o'clock. And I can never really figure out why that is. So we're running out of daylight. It's now 2:15. And I have to make an executive decision with your help. Do you want to go to Arnside Tower? Or do you want to go to Hawes Water? Hawes Water. What a fantastic choice. Let's bimble.
To me it was a golden handshake to reapply those lazy arms in my heart. To you it was a dream it mended. To you it was a dream suspended. To relocate right from the break to the start. Clouds kept the light from those eyes. Still, love grown consumed. And you know, I'll never let it go. You'll find in time, I'll never let it go. You'll find it's right. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. Over time, clouds kept the light from those eyes. Still, love grown consumed. And you know, I'll never let it go. You'll find in time, I'll never let it go. You'll find it's right. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. My mind.
I'm sat on the stone steps of a curious little stone building at the side of Hawes Water in Silverdale. That's Hawes, not the way you were thinking it was spelt. And we spoke about Hawes Water before in my Blackpool 2 video, because Martin Mere in Blackpool and Hawes Water here in Silverdale are Lancashire's only 2 natural lakes. And Hawes Water here is only just in Lancashire. It's about 1 kilometre away from being in Cumbria. All the other lakes in Lancashire were either drained or are man-made. It's 400 metres long and 225 metres across, and in the middle it's 12 metres deep, which is just about big enough for a monster. Legend has it that a serpent used to live in Hawes Water, and it used to slither its way out and up the hills and eat the farmers' sheep. And it's reported that it was seen coiled around a local landmark called Buck Stone, which is apparently 10 foot high and 30 foot across. So it must have been some kind of serpent. I think the legend maybe comes from a man called Roger the Worm Slayer. He was very famous in Durham for killing worms and dragons, mythical creatures. And he was arranged to be married to William de Lancaster's daughter. And the dowry for that marriage was Hawes Water. So Roger the Worm Slayer was given Hawes Water, and he became Roger de Conyers, because that's the name of the area around here. And I think maybe he went to a local hostelry and had a few meads and started being a little bit boastful. and said that he was killing giant worms. There doesn't seem to be any traces of snakes or lizards here anymore, but there is a lot of wildlife and a lot of rare plants, and in fact it's officially an area of scientific interest. But speaking of serpents, I think it's time for me to slither off back to Silverdale station and back over the border into Cheshire.